Hello and welcome to the Pleasurepreneur podcast. This podcast will help you create what you desire in your business with pleasure. Whether that be calling in your ideal clients, making more money, or creating a balanced business life blend. I'm your host, Regan, pleasure and business coach, published author of A Mother's Pleasure, wife and mama to 3 little wildlings. However you're choosing to listen to this podcast, ask yourself, how can I make this more pleasurable? And do just that. I acknowledge the custodians of the land on which this podcast is recorded and produced, the Wadi Wadi people of Dharawal land. Now, let's proceed with pleasure. Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome back to the podcast. My prediction is that this podcast is going to blow up this year. No, really, I think it might. That's not the predictions I want to talk about, though, for this episode. This episode, I want to be talking about something that I can feel in my waters. I can sense it around the corner, which is that 2026 is going to be the year of the Pleasurepreneur. Now, I'm going to be breaking that down a little bit as to what my predictions are and ultimately the way I've decided how I've come to this conclusion that 2026 is the year of the Pleasurepreneur is from these predictions that I feel in my body, that I can see around the corner from having conversations with other people in the industry. I'm just so excited because if you are here listening to this, that tells me you are a Pleasurepreneur. And that also tells me that what I predict for next year is going to be so awesome for you. It's going to be right up your alley. This year, I'm recording this in December. This year, 2026 is going to be your year. Yeah, I've been really sitting with next year and what it's going to feel like to run a business online as a coach or a mentor or a healer, a creative. And so I'm going to share with you what I'm seeing, what I'm predicting, and as I said, why I genuinely think that 2026 is your year if you are a Pleasurepreneur. So if you're already feeling like, I don't know, maybe this year felt like a lot. Maybe it feels like the internet is so loud right now. Maybe why is engagement so weird? Maybe you're thinking do people even care anymore? Then this episode is for you. I want you to take a deep breath. You are not delusional. You are not being overlooked, and your work is absolutely still needed. So I want to start with how I think 2026 is going to feel in the online space and what I'm guessing we're already probably feeling up towards the end of the year, which is where I'm at right now. I feel like there is going to be more noise, more AI, more content in general, more people teaching and talking and posting and launching. And at the same time, for a lot of us, it might look like lower engagement, fewer signups to our freebies and lead magnets, less of that sort of instant validation on content that we have been getting over the last few years, which maybe for you has felt like it sort of got a bit weird in 2025 as well. So you might already be noticing things like you put out a post or a reel, one that you know is really fucking powerful, but yet it doesn't do the numbers like it would have a couple of years ago. Yeah. Or you launch something and the opt-ins are lower than you expected, but the people who do come in are way warmer. So they buy quicker, they stay longer, they're more invested, they're more self-led. And I think that's going to be one of the big themes for 2026. It's seeming like there's fewer people looking, but the ones who are really there for it. Now, these are some of the key things that I want you to remember. So I suspect that people are getting so much more discerning about what they are consuming. There is just, there's so much out there. There's so much inauthentic, templated or templicized. I think it's just templated. So much inauthentic and templated, watered down, generic ChatGPT content. A lot of say the right thing for the algorithm energy. But your people, your audience, I want to say a lot of us out there are tired of that. Your people are not going to casually binge anyone and everyone anymore. Your community, your audience, like they want what feels real. They want what feels regulated. They want what feels like truth and not like, just what's trending or whatever has been like quickly thrown together with ChatGPT. I'm not against ChatGPT. I use it in my business. So it's not about just using ChatGPT, but I think when we can really dial in with that authentic realness, that's what people are going to take notice of. So here's where it can get a little bit spicy for your nervous system for next year. If you're someone who has perhaps historically gotten a lot of validation from likes and comments and shares and signups, 2026 might feel like, oh shit, is this not working anymore? Or no one cares? Or, is my industry dead? Is my niche dead? Do they not exist anymore? Do I need to burn my whole business down and start again? And look, I have been there with that wobbly kind of thinking as well, where you start telling yourself stories like I'm being overlooked or there's no demand or maybe people just don't want this anymore. When really what is happening is people are just more careful with their energy. They're more discerning with their attention. Your warmest humans are still here. They're still there in your community. They're just not giving you that instant performative engagement. They're watching, they're feeling you, they're quietly deciding if you're the one that they're going to hire. So yeah, the external markers might look quieter, but that doesn't mean your work isn't landing. It doesn't mean there's, dire consequences for you or anything like that. And it definitely doesn't mean you're not meant for this. All right. So I feel like I've started this with some doom and gloom, but I feel like these are some things that people are already feeling now, like end of 2025, stepping into 2026. So hence why I'm like sensing there's going to be more of that, especially with more AI coming through. So why don't we get into my actual predictions? And I want you to listen to these through the lens of like, what if this is working in my favor? Because I really believe that it is. Okay, so prediction number 1, high capacity leaders will outperform high hustle leaders. I feel like next year is where the nervous system really becomes one of your biggest business assets. So we're moving out of the era where the one who can push the hardest, launch the most, post the most, survive on the least amount of sleep, like wins in quotation marks. The people who will do well in 2026 will be the ones who can regulate through slow seasons, who can hold themselves when, the engagement dips, who keep showing up without needing any kind of instant proof or evidence, and who are not leaking all their energy into self-doubt and comparison and like spiraling out when things aren't working or it looks like things aren't working, It is not going to be about who can hustle the most. It's going to be about who can hold the most with pleasure, with groundedness, with a sense of like, I'm still safe. I'm still on track. I'm still meant for this. And honestly, like this is pure pleasurepreneur territory. Myself, my clients, we know how to plug into what feels good, how to create dopamine on purpose, how to build a business that your body doesn't, I want to say like revolt against. Pleasurepreneurs are not relying on purely just stress or, one of the past episodes, urgency-based motivation or like grit and just like forcing ourselves to get shit done. Like we're not relying on that as our fuel source. We're using pleasure as the power source, as the source of our motivation and our focus and our drive and our inspiration, right? So that's prediction number 1. Prediction number 2, depth will matter more than volume. That's not to say like you don't have to post if you're someone who, calls in your business, calls in your work online, but depth has gotten way more important in 2026. 2026, there is going to be more content than ever. More AI generated stuff, more, how-to 5 tips kind of carousels, more information in general. And your humans are going to get bored of it. Maybe you are already bored of it. They're not going to remember who posted what. They're going to remember how someone made them feel. Who was it that said that? I don't know, but it's just such a great post. I feel like I need to pause this and work it out. Look, I'll put it in the show notes. So I want to say like the winners here, but like it's not competitive. But like in order to succeed here, it's not about pumping out millions of pieces of content a day just to try and, get on top of the algorithm. It's going to be the ones whose content goes deep, the ones whose words land like in your body, where you can be felt, where the stories make you feel seen, where presence feels like safe and real and like fucking unedited, right? And ungeneric ChatGPT. Pleasurepreneurs are literally made for this because everything you do is about a felt experience. Yeah. Whether that is, as an astrologist or a kinesiologist or a dietitian or a counselor or another mentor and coach that's got nothing to do with pleasure, you are here to be a living, breathing transmission, not a content machine. So if this year in 2026, you give yourself permission to speak honestly and boldly and authentically and vulnerably, you are going to do well this year. And I will share with you something that one of my past mentors, Carly Marie, said to me once that has stuck so well and is going to stick and be really helpful in 2026 too, which is show and don't tell. So this is something that ChatGPT is not going to be sharing about. ChatGPT doesn't know what it feels like to be a human. Like, I want to hear about your lived human experience. Share your content from a place of responding to life. If you are a mindset coach, I want to know that how you cleaning out your junk drawer is just like what you help your clients do to clear out their limiting beliefs. If you are showing me how your deep squat whilst picking up the Lego is going to help me birth my baby because I'm pregnant and I'm looking for a doula. Like that's the kind of content I'm actually going to stop my scrolling to pause and actually read. If you are a relationship coach and you are sharing with me what it was like because you were fighting with your partner last night, or you had some kind of struggle and you resolved it in a certain way, and you can show me how that looked like for you personally in your real life and how those same skills are transferable with the work you do for your clients. That is the kind of stuff that we're going to stop and listen to and read and consume. We want to know you're a real person. We want to see life. We want to see life breathing out of you. That's the sort of stuff that AI right now cannot comprehend. It doesn't know how to feel what it's like to be a human. You do. And the fact that you're here listening to this tells me you are a pleasurepreneur and you do value the felt sense and you do value being in connection with life and responding to life. That is the kind of advantage you are taking with you into this year. So this year, notice where you are outsourcing your humanness or where you're outsourcing your imagination and your creativity and your stories. ChatGPT is not going to do it like you could. Let your intuition guide you. Let yourself be desire-driven. Let your pleasure lead you. That is what it means to be human and be a pleasurepreneur, and that is what is going to create success for you this year. All right, let's dive into prediction number 3. You will find that your warm leads will convert higher than ever, but the top of funnel numbers will decline. So I think a lot of people are going to panic about smaller launches or smaller audiences, and it might not be every launch or every time you post something, but there are going to be times this year where there are less story views, where there are less signups to lead magnets, where there is less viral moment energy. But what I see happening is that the quality and readiness of the people in your world is going to be higher. So if you are in that kind of experience where you might have fewer people joining your free things or fewer people watching your every story or fewer new followers each week, know that the ones who are there, they are emotionally and energetically closer. They have been like quietly tracking you, or maybe loudly, but potentially quietly, they're more likely to buy when you sell. They're more likely to stay and re-sign and to deepen into your work. So instead of obsessing over reach in 2026, again, that's not to say that it isn't valuable, but instead of focusing on the external metrics of reach in 2026, I want you to ask, like, how deeply am I nurturing my warm people, my warm audience, my actual community? Are you building real relationships? Are you speaking to your people like actual humans? Are you making it safe and simple for them to buy? And think about your language with this one too. Like, are you making it easy for them to know what it is you're selling? This is why I have started offering my in-person immersions, Make It a Masterpiece, which, by the way, you can grab your tickets now for the next one in mid-February. But it's because we are craving so much more human connection than ever. Because when we are in, we are so in. We are not dabbling in a million different freebies from a million different people anymore. You know, we want that human connection. We want to be felt. We want the felt sense in our body. So the Make It a Masterpiece in-person immersion is going to be doing all that, connecting with me, with other real humans, face to face, in real life, in a room together, feeling each other's energies, feeling each other in the room, not like feeling each other physically. I mean, if that's what you're into and there's consent, go for it. Feeling yourself is what most welcome too. You know, so these are going to be the things that are going to be such an advantage to you next year. Creating that human connection, building on those human relationships, really honoring the felt, real, lived experience, you know, and that might look like for you maybe longer form content, like podcasts, like emails, intimate communities. All of that is going to do really well for pleasurepreneurs this year because that's where your nuance and depth gets to live. See what I did there? Okay, I have a match made in heaven for you if you're so ready for big profit and big pleasure in 2026, but you're not quite sure how to make it happen. Well, I have two actually. Now, if your business is feeling harder than it should, if you feel as though your income isn't matching your effort, and you know that 2026 is meant to be a lot more pleasurable and more profitable, then the Pleasurepreneur Business Audit is for you. It is one of my favorite freebies. It is a private podcast and workbook. It's going to help you figure out exactly what's clogging up your profit, your pleasure, and your momentum. Make some tiny tweaks now that will make 2026 richer in all of the ways. You can literally knock it over in under an hour. The kinky linky I will pop down for you in the show notes. And if you want to go even deeper and have my support to implement these kind of things into your business, I want you to get inside the unoriginally titled Accelerator program. You'll finish up with not just an offer that you're obsessed with that actually fills your books and your bank account. You'll also have crystal clarity on who your dream client is, not just who you have called in the past, and how to call them in, and messaging that is so spot on, you become the mentor that they have to hire. Now, you will leave this Accelerator program with a pleasure-led sales plan. You'll leave with on-point pricing that feels really fucking aligned for you, ethical buyer psychology you can actually use, messaging that makes you the obvious choice, and of course, most importantly, a sense of excitement and momentum that you can feel in your body before you even start selling. We are not relying on external sales metrics to feel good and create momentum in 2026. Now, we kick off the Accelerator program on January 12. It's a fraction of my mentoring price. And again, check out the show notes for details, and let's make 2026 the year you are the badass that gives yourself the support and the results that you want. All right, my last prediction is that embodiment will replace aesthetics as the buyer metric. So this is a big one. We are completely exiting the era of like perfect, polished persona, being enough to sell, say that like 10 times fast. You know, having the perfect aesthetic to sell. You know, and I think we've been coming out of that era for quite some time now, but 2026 is where like we're not buying that shit anymore. And if I can't connect with you, if I think, oh my gosh, you are like this perfect person, then I don't know if I can trust you. I don't know if you actually would be experiencing any of the challenges that I've experienced. I don't know if I can actually gain a lot from you. People are going to care less and less about how curated your grid is, whether you've got the on-trend audio, whether your brand colors are immaculate, and they're going to care way more about how congruent you are, how real you are as a person, whether your life actually matches your message, whether you feel like a real, regulated, grounded person when you speak about your work. People are getting really good at feeling energetic weirdness, right? Your people are intelligent. They can sense when someone's message and their actual lived experience are out of sync. When you're saying shit you don't believe, when you're trying to sell something that, whilst you think it's pretty good, you still feel like your audience is doing you a favor by listening to you sell it. Like, you need to get behind what it is you're offering. You need to know that what it is you're offering is like so awesome that you just want to shout it from the rooftops. The clients that you're calling in are the kind of clients that you just cannot wait to get out of bed for each day. You want to make sure that what you are selling it with such conviction, not just to, I don't know, address bias psychology or to do whatever's trending, on Instagram, not just to kind of appease the algorithm. If you aren't fully behind what it is you're selling, who it is that you're selling it to, and how it is you're selling, your people are going to feel that. So really get behind your work. Do what you need to do to have such conviction that there is no energetic weirdness. People know that what you're selling, you are 100% behind. Now, one of the ways that we end up not coming from a place of 100% conviction about what it is we're selling, who we're selling it to, and how we're selling is because we'll have some pleasure gaps in those areas. So if you're selling something that you actually feel quite stressed if you have more than 2 people sign up, you're actually going to self-sabotage. You're not actually going to do a really good job of selling that because you don't want a whole bunch of people to sign up. Yeah. If you are trying to attract clients who aren't the kind of clients you actually adore, and you're trying to sell the work that you don't actually really want to do, but you feel like, no, that's what people want, that is going to sabotage your results as well. Because if you don't feel such pleasure and desire for who it is you're calling in and for the kind of work you're doing, you're not going to want to call in more work. You're not going to want to call in more clients. And also, if there are pleasure gaps in the way that you are selling your offerings to your clients, to your audience, again, you're going to come from an apologetic place. You're going to come from a place of inauthenticity and completely out of alignment because perhaps you're selling in a way that you think you should, not in a way that feels good for you. So I'm actually going to share with you in the show notes here something that's super duper helpful, which is my Pleasurepreneur business audit. Now that will help you go through all of those things, ensuring that your offer, what it is you're selling, to whom it is you're selling, and how it is you're selling, to make sure that all those 3 areas do not have any pleasure gaps. Because where there are pleasure gaps, you're going to sabotage yourself. So go to the link in the show notes. I'll pop it in the show notes here. It will actually be a really great resource for you to utilize right now at the start of the year. Like, audit what it is you're selling, who you're selling to, how it is you're selling, and ensure that when you come out of this audit, you're going to feel so fucking good about your offers, who it is you're calling in, the kind of work that you're calling in, and how you're selling it. When you feel like that, when you feel so good about all of those things, it is actually hard for you to hold back shouting it from the rooftops. It is actually hard for you to not talk about what it is you're selling. And people feel that. People, like they can pick up on that energetic weirdness. People will pick up on how much conviction you have and how congruent you are, how in alignment you are with what it is you're selling. That is what is going to catch people's attention in 2026. Not just like, the perfect generic pretty words that ChatGPT gave you. This is probably going to bring up a lot of stuff in your system. Like when engagement dips or launches feel quieter or, you feel as though it's not working, your brain might want to tell you it's not working. Your beautiful brain might want to tell you no one wants what you're selling. You might be thinking, I should probably just get a normal job, or I'm too late. I've missed the boat. I want you to know that is exactly the moment your Pleasurepreneur toolkit becomes non-negotiable. This is where you really lean into your pleasure practices, not just when things feel fun, but when they feel clunky. And the real flex here is to find the pleasure when it feels though it's not working, to use pleasure to regulate and not to escape, to anchor back into your vision, your why, your body, your truth, and, not the algorithm. Because here is what I believe. Let me say that again. Here is what I believe. The ones who stay in the room when it's quiet, the ones who keep showing up when they're not getting instant applause, the ones who are willing to believe in their inevitability without the evidence, they're the ones who will look back at 2026 and go like, oh, that was the year I became unstoppable. So this is why I say being a pleasurepreneur in 2026 is not just, a cute thing to call yourself. It's actually a really great strategy for succeeding this year. If you want to stay the distance, you need tools to keep you motivated without burning out. You need ways to create dopamine and satisfaction that aren't just, oh, I signed the next client, You need practices that help you feel full and resourced even when the outside world is quieter. You need to be able to see how it is working when other people would swear that it's not, and feel proud of yourself without the external validation, without what I call the vanity metrics. And pleasurepreneurs, you are built for that. You already know how to microdose pleasure in your day. You already know what lights you up. You already care about how your business feels, not just what it makes. 2026 is just giving you the ultimate playground to put that into practice. So I want you to hear this as if I'm sitting next to you and I'm holding your hand. You are not behind. You are not being left out. You are not the one person whose work won't land. You are made for this next season. If there ever was a season for you, it is now. Your sensitivity is an asset. Your desire and your craving for a business that feels good is an asset. Your commitment to presence and connection and pleasure and embodiment is an asset. You don't need to be the loudest. You just need to be the most you. Yeah. 2026 gets to be the year where you, number one, decide your success is inevitable. Number two, stop waiting for external validation to prove it. And number three, build a business that feels more like, I want to say your favorite playlist, and less I'm thinking a school assignment, or I used to have I remember at the end of high school, year 12, and that year I had this big run sheet of all the different assessments for the whole year, and it was just ticking it off. I just had to tick them off, So this year, your business, it's going to feel, let me start that again. So this year, you get to build a business that feels more like your fun favorite playlist than ticking boxes on your assessments due list. The year of the pleasurepreneur isn't some big external trend. It's actually you choosing you and what it is that feels good for you, and what it is you want from your business, and what it is you want your life to look like over and over and over again this year. It is you saying, I will not abandon myself to make this business work. I will bring more of me in. I will let pleasure lead, and I will trust that this is what makes me unforgettable. So as we now land in 2026, here is what I want you to really have land in your body. You are already ahead of the curve. The way the online space is shifting, most people are going to freak out. They're going to tighten up. They're going to overthink. They're going to burn themselves out trying to compete with the noise and the AI and all the rest of it. But you, my love, if you are here, you're already building your business differently. You're more attuned and embodied and pleasure-led, and that puts you at such an advantage this year. This year isn't going to I want to say kind of reward, but I don't know if that's the right word. Let's just use it. It isn't going to reward the loudest or the most perfectly branded. It is going to reward the ones who feel grounded and regulated and intentional and real and genuinely connected to what they're creating and what they're selling. The ones who can hold their energy when things are quiet and trust themselves when others might start spiraling. No shade there. We've all been there. And who create from desire, not pressure, AKA like pleasurepreneurs. Hence, this is your year. So if you're feeling that little spark of excitement for this year, like I want you to trust that. I want you to know that that is your body knowing something good is coming, that you are built for what's ahead, that you have the tools and the presence and the pleasure and, you know, the personal power to not just navigate this year, but to thrive in it. You know, it gets to be your year. And if that sounds like the version that you want to be and that you want to experience in 2026, it is already unfolding for you. I'm so excited to hear about what you have planned for this year, what you're creating, what you already have in the pipelines, and also what it is you are open to receiving this year, however that might come. I'm running a 3-week Accelerator program, which is all about you getting really clear on what it is you're selling, who it is you're selling to, what kind of work it is that you're doing, and how you're selling it in a way that feels so fucking good to you this year, that aligns with the 2026 I'm predicting, so that you are clear and excited and motivated and focused and ready to roll come the end of January. So I'll pop those details in the show notes, along with the free Pleasurepreneur business audit that's going to help you to find those pleasure gaps in your business. As I said, I'm so excited to hear what this year will bring for you. Make sure you drop into my DMs and let me know what's coming for you or celebrate what arrives. Big love from me to you. Bye for now.